Hello and welcome to the InfusionPoints webinar on the Command Center Advantage. Just a few housekeeping notes to start off. I would like to save all questions till the end. However, if you have questions as we're walking through our live demo or as we're speaking through the Command Center Advantage, please feel free to drop them in the studio chat here, or if you're joining us on LinkedIn or YouTube, go ahead and drop them in the comment section there. And one of our admins will copy them over and make sure we're able to address them here in this webinar. A little history on InfusionPoints. InfusionPoints has been in business since 2007, specializing in building, managing, and defending highly compliant environments for our customers. We've had a lot of success in the FedRAMP and DoD space, specifically around building, managing, and defending those environments, where we specifically allow our customers to do what they do securely and not have to worry about the security on the back end, because we have that part for them, right? One of the things that we've been able to develop out of that is the Command Center tool, which we're going to showcase for you all here today. Before we dive into that, let's go through some quick introductions. First, you have myself. I'm Mike Strohecker. I am the Director of Cloud Operations here at InfusionPoints. Joining me today, I also have Jackson Gorman, who is one of our audit and advisory leads here at InfusionPoints. I also have Chris Eves, who is one of our DevOps engineers, specifically assigned to developing Command Center. So welcome, and let's dive right in. Jackson?
Hey, thanks, Mike. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. As Mike said, over the years, our team has gathered a lot of lessons learned from supporting dozens of cloud service providers through the FedRAMP and DoD authorization process, including the initial build-out, gap assessment, through readiness assessments, full security assessments, as well as ongoing continuous monitoring, or CONMON, as some of you may have heard of it. Those insights that we've gathered really informed the development of our Command Center platform, which is an integrated and purpose-built cloud-native compliance solution, really geared towards some of these modern initiatives that you're seeing coming out of FedRAMP, like FedRAMP 20X, and piloting some of these digital authorization processes based on key security indicators. What we're really trying to do with Command Center is empower CSPs to take control of their cloud compliance journey with a modular and feature-rich solution. It's adaptable as well, and not just for FedRAMP and DoD, with use cases that include ticketing, documentation, repository and control, as well as other areas with baked-in military-grade controls. It leverages many AWS native services like DynamoDB, serverless solutions like ECS and Lambda, API gateway for microservice segmentation as well. And it also comes with robust access control. So it's compatible with any IDP that you need with multiple MFA configurations. We really leaned into the latest phishing-resistant MFA solutions that are available out there, as well as supporting those zero trust mandates that are becoming so important. Beyond the technology, it's backed by the experience we have over those experiences with our customers, addresses key pain points in security operations, cloud operations, as well as engineering and compliance. And at this point, I'll just pass it over to Chris, and we'll get to the demo here shortly.
So before we jump in, quick context of the history of Command Center. So it started as a whiteboard drawing of an idea that Gary Damer, our CEO, had. It was a continuous monitoring system for vulnerability and inventory management, a way to automatically gather all the vulnerability findings and infrastructure resources that the vulnerabilities affect, and compiling all that into spreadsheets. The goal was to reduce the time and effort required for our cloud ops team to compile the data manually. And over time, that has evolved from a one-person side task with a couple of simple scripts to a dedicated development team and a full-blown modern website, which we are now about to show off. So here we go.
Yeah, let's start with a high-level look, dive into the homepage, and then from there, we'll drive you guys through some of the modules that are available in Command Center. All right, awesome. So here we're landing at the homepage. You'll see modules from ticketing to Conmon, as well as the document repository. We'll begin with the ticketing module. And when you land there, you'll be presented with a few different key metrics. So here we have a modular dashboard, which gives you the opportunity to customize what you're trying to see, the key indicators for your particular system, live ticket counts, assignment status. So if you can see what's worked, what's not being worked, criticality indicators, as well as a visual breakdown by type and status. A lot of this can be changed to your desire as well as your team's needs based on what data is most relevant as you land on the ticketing module. One standout feature is that ticket history there that is in the center of the screen. It helps identify seasonal trends, ticket volume, especially in environments with larger scale upticks in ticket counts. So it gives you, as maybe a leadership stakeholder or even down to the operations side, enhanced visibility for planning staffing, planning needs around what times of the year or areas you have higher upticks in ticket volume. Chris, let's walk through some ticket creation. Let's go to the risk assessment ticket type. I like that one for our FedRAMP and DoD side, especially with the supply chain risk management controls being added here a while ago now with Rev 5. But here we have what's expected, right? A lot of this is modular, and I'll let Chris walk through or talk to that some. But what we're trying to show here is key areas and practices around how to assess and vet risk, the key data points you may need, such as the contact information, authorization status, evaluation metrics for a particular third-party vendor or solution. And together, these fields can form an audit-ready and an audit shield approach to escalating things to key decision makers. And Chris, I'll let you, if you don't mind, talk through how we customize tickets to fit our customers' needs.
So each customer needs different information in their tickets. They need, they potentially need different fields, additional fields, and so on. So we designed our ticketing system to be modular, where none of this ticket data is hard-coded. It's all held within templates. So if we need to do a new version of a ticket type where we add or remove fields or we add custom logic to it, we can do that by adding a new version of the ticket. This one only has one version at the time. But yeah, so with we can add new subtypes, new ticket types as needed without having to rewrite anything in the system. So if anyone needs new ticket types, we can just put them in there and then push a ticket baseline update, and you'll have your new ticket without any system updates.
Nice. Another quality of life item is the batch or bulk forms that we have. So we have an import wizard that enables import of bulk processing via CSV. That is super helpful for our next area, which really dives into managing user workflows for onboarding, especially in these highly regulated environments. Chris, you could pop over to a user onboarding ticket, create that, and we can show them some of the advantages there.
I'm already here. Get clear.
So as some of you watching may know, there are a lot of new and emerging requirements, especially in the IA control family for identification authentication, based on NIST 863, which really require an in-depth review of all the users that you onboard, scrutinization of background checks, as well as signature and support. How you manage and demonstrate that, especially during your third-party assessments, is crucial. And what we've done here is automate a lot of that, similar to the risk assessment side, to bulk onboard your users, as well as show that demonstratable audit trail that can connect back to your corporate HR processes. which we think is a really effective tool to give you an edge during assessments, as well as give you an edge security-wise, so you're making sure you're vetting those that are being onboarded into the system. Chris, let's pop over to the all tickets page. Another advantage here is the automated vulnerability ticketing, which plugs directly into our other service offerings, our ATO acceleration offerings, such as Accelerator and XView 40. But we can also integrate with common scanning solutions such as Nessus, as well as AWS Inspector for that cloud native approach. And with that, you'll see huge time and cost savings as far as the management of the vulnerability tracking and identification. By integrating with those tools, you don't have to have teams that are building tickets, assigning those out to the engineering team, making sure that they're being completed, closing, opening over and over. Chris, can you give us a walkthrough of the logic behind the automation there?
So our Kanban automation system pulls vulnerability information and inventory information from a number of different systems. And when it pushes these new vulnerabilities into Command Center, it will, say, hey, this is a new vulnerability, and it will generate an automated new ticket. And this is a demo environment, which we did not plug the automated ticket generator into because demo data. But if we had, you would see a whole stack of automatically generated tickets. So how the process works is once the automatic ticket has been generated for a vulnerability, the vulnerability and the ticket are linked. So if you close the ticket, the vulnerability will be resolved. Or if the automatic system comes through and says, hey, this vulnerability fell off the POAM, it's been remediated, it's, the system is on, it's been, deprecated, what have you. Once that vulnerability is gone, it'll automatically close the ticket. So instead of having someone come in and put in 100 tickets for the 100 vulnerabilities on your POAM each week, the automatic ticket generator will come through and say, we've ticketed all the vulnerabilities and 25 of them got closed. We close out those 25 tickets. So you've got an automated process from beginning to end without human intervention, which saves an enormous amount of time and it checks those compliance boxes for making sure you're ticketing all your vulnerabilities.
Well put. Agree completely. Mike, I know with you being director of cloud ops, there's a huge value and upside there that you're seeing. We're going to get into the Kanban module here. I wondered if you wanted to add anything there to what Chris was talking about.
Sure, absolutely. The automated ticket generation is extremely helpful, not only to the InfusionPoints Cloud Ops team, but also to our customer engineers. Whereas they're aware of these vulnerabilities much sooner than they would have been if they had to wait for that manual ticket creation within their ticketing system of choice, right? So that way they can really get a head start on it. Most people in the FedRAMP space know, those SLAs are 30 days for high, 90 days for moderate, 180 for low. Well, the sooner you can get that high vulnerability in the engineer's hands to start remediating it, the better. And this really sets those engineers up for success in that space. Absolutely.
Completely agree. Mm-hmm. That's a great point. It's on both ends of the equation there. Chris, I think that's a good segue to pop over to the Kanban module. Take a look there. So when we land on the Kanban module page, you'll see integration with the data sources that we've been showing over the past section of the demo. That ticket data and associated scan data from the components or results are displayed here for POAM data, as well as your ticket history and vulnerability history, as well as net new and remediated vulnerabilities. This provides you with an at-a-glance view of how you're trending, which really meets the RA56 requirement directly. And we know some CSPs aren't sure exactly how to get that in. So historically, we had a solution that we've now baked in here through our automation. If you scroll down, there's also the ability to look at forecasting, which we think is awesome. Forecasting gives you the opportunity to see how you are with your SLAs that Mike was referring to, 30, 90, 180. And from there, you can go even down to a more granular view and see those vulnerabilities throughout that time span. So here in the demo environment, we just refresh data, but it gives you a feel of what CVEs are trending and where they're trending towards delivery, so you can prioritize. With that, we'll switch over to our inventory. We can take a look there. The inventory is automated as well, and the requirements or fields here are mapped directly to the FedRAMP and DoD requirements, populated from AWS services as well. So, Chris, can you share a little bit with how those services populate the inventory dynamically?
Yeah, so we reach out to several AWS services, workspaces, EC2, config, and so on. And we can pull various resources types, images, ECR images, databases, and stuff like that. We populate all that into the inventory field here, and we populate as much data automatically as we can. And then what doesn't come from AWS, we pull from, it doesn't come from AWS directly, we pull from tags. So if you've got your resources well tagged, you'll get really good information in the inventory here.
Yeah, that's critical. I mean, especially with the new data classification requirements and FedRAMP and NIST, but also just really getting more granular on that side. I think that's a great point. And the inventory field here, based on those FedRAMP and DoD templates, really helps improve accuracy. I think that's one thing we've noticed as far as the new digital trend here is to automate this process and to make sure that you're getting a one-to-one view. Hey, here's what my IS provider and tools they're saying from this particular account or Cost Explorer or config solution, right? And then here's the direct output one-to-one. And then you can keep up with your footprint of assets a lot easier. We've also set this up to be ready for that digital authorization package push, and we've really shifted to a solution to support FedRAMP modernization efforts here. Even before the big announcement, FedRAMP 20X, which has just gone to further our endeavors here. Let's move on to the POAM. POAM tab here, again, same fields that you would see in your FedRAMP template POAM, but it gives you the opportunity to actually work collaboratively on this outside of Excel and to provide visibility to more stakeholders who may not have access to that as we host the solution and provide that data to stakeholders in a controlled environment. The options here are pretty great. Like, Chris, if you don't mind, can you edit one of the fields and maybe update that? Let's try resources required or something.
Sure.
So you may have multiple team members working in a POAM, engineers, right? And there's going to be updates in those tickets. So what we do here is make sure we're tracking, especially before you're submitting. And we have an integrated change control solution here for the POAM that can allow you to vet and manage what POAM updates are being made. Especially when you are submitting this to government stakeholders regularly, you want to make sure that it gets that final QA and sign off of what changes are going to be compiled based on the active vulnerabilities for that month. Again, same as the inventory, working towards that digital enabled Conmon package with solutions like Command Center's Conmon module. We also have the additional features you would imagine here: deviation requests, compliance scans for the new CM6 requirements. I don't think we don't have any deviations right now, but the feature set is there to make sure that you can also comply with those additional mandates and integrate with solutions like Inspector as well for those CIS scans, Nessus, as we mentioned before. Chris, anything else you wanted to show here, or Mike, any comments before we move on to the doc repo?
No, I don't. I mean, it's I think it's this really enables all the parties associated with the POAM to interact with it, right? And things need to be authorized. It really helps with peer reviews and just builds efficiencies with delivering this on a monthly cadence. So
awesome, thank you. Let's move right along to the doc repo. All right, yeah, let's pivot over to our new look. This is a feature we're trialing for some of our early adopters here, but the doc repo and SSP management are housed in this module of the Command Center platform. Essentially, what we're showing you here is a secure repository hosted out of AWS S3 with built-in access controls and assurance for authorized users, just to make sure that you can upload, retrieve, and manage documentation from the central hub for your key compliance artifacts, which need to be secure as metadata just as much as that federal data as well. Access the POAM and Kanban data for inventory and reports, as well as upload, download key evidence packages from their device, and also manage versioning and submission readiness for things like the SSP. Chris, let's jump into the SSP. I think that's one of the key areas. All right, so as we push into the next frontier for FedRAMP 20X, we really want to be able to highlight one of the most awesome features of Command Center, which is the SSP management module. Really enables collaboration and time saving here, avoiding some of those issues that you get in some of the classic formats in Microsoft Word with overwriting, crashing, corruption, which I know I've dealt with a lot in the past, working through SSPs with the advisory team. Here, you're able to see the real live coverage of those controls across the Appendix A, embedded with the team member actively working it, which you see on the right there with pending changes. What we've done is, using that digital framework, is base the front matter of the SSP, which drives a lot of those control requirements and I'm looking for variables. Really, it's variabilized throughout this module, and then enables an import and export feature to get it into the format that a lot of agencies expect. So exporting to Word and making sure that you can give them that stack of paper, but also not introducing a ton of overhead as you work the SSP in the background with the team, and update it over the course of the lifetime. As we know, FedRAMP is looking to modernize that approach as well. I think that's the key there. I mean, in that recent FedRAMP 20X talk, the real goal was to modernize and have modern digital machine-readable packages that reduce review time and increase clarity for assessors and PMO reviewers, and that's what we're trying to do here. Primary focus is giving you and our customers that digital experience across the compliance lifecycle, and reducing the threat surface as well by just collapsing it into your boundary from a Command Center perspective that's integrating with those other sources of data, not exposing it on corporate environment or other locations. We have a little bit of time left. I think that before we get into some of the coming soon teasers, Chris, you want to go into the wiki? I think that's a cool area we could check out.
One of the things I would also like to highlight here, Jackson, if you can let me interject real quick, is with the SSP, you had spoken about those massive Word docs and how adding the comments and the notes and the corrections and how it can just break. Anyone that's worked in a FedRAMP SSPs knows how frustrating that can be. What this approach enables you to do is it really saves a lot of time in that collaboration, because it breaks down all the different control families. You can dive right into that control family. And as we all know in this business, if you're not waiting on that Word doc to open for 5 minutes or however long it takes, or breaking and trying to recreate it, it's really building efficiencies, right? Like, one of the things we're really trying to build here with the Command Center tools, building efficiencies with how we approach achieving FedRAMP compliance, right? Great
point. Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that. The hour saved is hard to understate there.
Exactly. Exactly.
So here in the wiki, some documentation available for user experience and guides, but also it's modular. So we have other sections of the wiki that can be created to support some of that in-boundary Confluence-esque documentation that allows you to build out your sections and to create areas that you're able to edit modularly. So Chris, if you go down, let's say to like just the command center section and add a section for me.
Sure.
Here you can actually create sections that you and your team need easily, adding headers and other content as well, which allows you to track and keep things secure in the boundary, updating and grouping as you need. I think that's the key area I had here. Just wanted to drop a line on this. I think it's a really cool feature. At this point, before we wrap the demo up, I wanted to talk about some of the features that are coming soon, which I think are really cool and kind of lean into the FedRAMP 20X effort as well. The first one is our, what we're going to call a Vault, Command Center Vault. It's our trust center, if you're familiar with that concept. And as you saw the sneak peek back in the document repository, Chris, if you want to jump over there, what we're really looking to do is secure document sharing for the CSPs we work with and their stakeholders on the agency side, as well as on the 3PAO side. And with that, those are our key stakeholders that we're targeting, but it will function similarly to something like a DoD Safe, if you guys on the line have ever heard of that. Embedding this directly into your compliance ecosystem, so you don't have to juggle a lot of external tools and how to do ad hoc file transfer and sharing, similar to how 3PAOs have been doing it and are kind of more moving in that direction for. Key capabilities there: end-to-end file encryption, expiration controls for that just-in-time access for users, as well as role-based sharing permissions, and then knowing audit logs for the files, like who's sharing what and where. And then another one, I think a key one there before we switch into our next section here, is Audit Shield. And Audit Shield is in the past something that was kind of a white glove approach for us and in our experience, but really is becoming a continuous audit and evidence automation solution designed to reduce the burden of preparing for those security assessments and audits by doing so continuously and aligning with the FedRAMP 20X goals of reducing manual evidence collection, improving reviewability through a standardized and automated mechanism, as we've been sharing here throughout the demo today. Key elements there include pulling configuration checks for those cloud native tools, using services that are available that need that extra oomph to be ready to be shared and consumed from an audit perspective, such as AWS config, CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and then using serverless solutions like Lambda with real-time triggers to gather that information. Goal with this tool is really to power pre-built evidence templates, map those to control requirements, and make sure that the CSPs you work with are one step ahead of their audit to save time and stress across the board. And that's just a quick sneak peek there. Keep an eye out in our next webinar for more on the Command Center Vault as well as Audit Shield. And with that, it really closes the demo portion of the call today. Mike, I'll pass to you for some closing remarks and next steps.
Yeah, and before we hop into kind of the Q&A, I see we've had some questions dropped across the multiple platforms. I just wanted to kind of give just kind of a quick summary about Command Center, which is really that front end management tool for your cloud solution here, right? I mean, you're able to log in, view ticketing, view your vulnerabilities, have your SSP, all your packages, all those things, and just the efficiencies that we're able to build in that, right? One of the big benefits, and I really can't understate this, right? I mean, or overstate this. It's like it's a huge thing for us with this Kanban automation, where what would normally take CSPs, 2 FTEs to be able to do this monthly for FedRAMP or DoD. We're able to use 1 FTE with the command center automations that we build in here, and that FTE is able to manage multiple different environments because of the automations that InfusionPoints has engineered into the back end of command center here. So building those efficiencies, saving those hours is really what we're going after here to make FedRAMP less painful for our customers, because we all know that Kanban can be painful, but it's really what drove us to this mindset. So with that, I'm going to switch to some Q&A. So let me start up here. The first one, I think I will ask Chris, unless Jackson wants to take it, is how do you envision the role of AI evolving within this platform over the next few years?
So we already have an integration with AI. It's currently not available in GovCloud, so we're hoping that gets approved in the near future. So we'll have an AI tool which can, be your wiki reader, and your, how do I use the site, and can you provide summary data on these vulnerabilities or on these alerts. We also, to a degree, use AI in the backend development. When necessary, add it in, pull it in, reference it as needed. And the more effective AI becomes over time, the more we will integrate it into our services to provide better recommendations, better data parsing, just overall value add in anywhere that we can add it.
I'd like to tag on there too. I think that the integration of AI will be major over the next few years, specifically agentic AI with some of these workflows that you guys are seeing. To expand on what Chris had said, areas in this system that would benefit from agentic AI in a highly regulated sense are vulnerability management, are documentation, that's the big one. And with that, the ability to parse at a high level a lot of data, a lot of tokens, including your policy and mandates that you're seeing across the federal government and DoD, down to the catalog of controls. And that's something that we're already toying around with, as Chris had said, with our Alto AI that's based in SageMaker and Bedrock AWS services. So our goal there is to rapidly integrate and start using those solutions to deliver that value, because it's here, it's already being used at the enterprise level, and we want to be able to get ahead of that. So we're already considering that and including that as part of our features.
Awesome. Moving on to the next question is, are there certain vulnerabilities that might be tied to multiple tickets? What happens when only one of the tickets is resolved? Does the vulnerability stay open until all related tickets are resolved? So I'm going to start on this one, Chris, and then I'm going to let you chime in. Currently, the way the parsing works is we will tie all assets that are associated with a certain CVE or plugin ID under one POAM line item. As long as that CVE or plugin ID is showing up in scans, it's going to remain an open ticket or an open POAM item. If you close off certain assets under that vulnerability, you would be making comments within that ticket that this has been remediated on whatever asset that it's remediated on. However, the ticket will remain open until that vulnerability is remediated from the environment. Chris, I don't know if you had anything else to add on that.
Yeah. So the backend Kanban automation logic is like the linchpin of it is doing deduplication on those CVEs. Because if you end up with 100,000 vulnerabilities, you're not going to want a POAM with 100,000 lines. You reduce that, so you've got one line item for each of your vulnerabilities. But we also do separation for like teams, for example. If your company has different teams and they want to manage their own vulnerabilities separately, then we can separate those. So you could potentially have multiple tickets and multiple vulnerabilities for the same CVE, but with different resources. But because they'd be logically separated into different team tenants, those could potentially stay open. But yeah, we do duplicate that, so you don't end up with a bunch of tickets for the same vulnerability.
Yeah, I mean, excellent question. And again, anyone who's done Conmon, continuous monitoring, knows there is some nuance in there. And Chris's team worked closely with my cloud ops team to build the automation to kind of mirror exactly what they were doing, and not try to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, right? So, excellent question. Scroll through. I'm not seeing any other questions right now, guys, unless you guys have one. So feel free to keep dropping them. Unless Chris or Jackson, if we want to speak about any kind of system alerts, like how do we alert when a ticket is open?
Yeah. So when a ticket is opened, we use an AWS service called SES to send out notifications. And depending on what you need to be notified for, you'll get different notifications. So if you're an approver on a ticket type, then that ticket type, you can't close it. You can't approve it for action unless you are on the approver list for that particular ticket type. And when a ticket is opened that you are an approver for, you get an email saying, hey, you need to approve this ticket. When you create a ticket, you get a notification saying, hey, you've created a ticket. So we've got like kind of a granular notification system to notify people that actions have occurred within the system. And this also applies to more than just ticketing. Like, for example, we've got it plugged into like Graylog, for example, is one of the alerting systems we can use. And when alerts come in from Graylog, notifications will go out to our security team or the operations team, depending on who that particular alert is for. So if you're on the security team and an alert comes in, you'll be notified, alerts have come in for, we've got 10 alerts that need to be looked at, log into the system, see what they are. So we've got like a robust notification system to ensure that people are aware of what's happening within the command center. And because we do comply with the FedRAMP controls, these emails don't contain any metadata. They don't contain any metadata. They only contain metadata. So it's like a pointer to the ticket. But for commercial environments, we'd be able to put more information in that if you needed it.
Awesome. I have another question here for either Chris or Jackson, whoever wants to take it. Do we have the ability to integrate with any customer IDPs as far as identity?
Yeah. Jackson, you want that one or shall I take it?
I'll start at the high level and then get more technical. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we integrate with any IDP you need. That's really the goal here, is to use these secure and modern solutions for single sign-on, such as SAML, OpenID Connect through services like Cognito, as well as natively within the command center front end to enable that single sign-on. Even in the highly regulated environments, using solutions like Microsoft Entra ID or tools like RSA, many IDPs, even customer-provided IDPs, we can integrate with, which is really astounding. I think we have a recent blog that we did. We want there to be more options, right? We don't want to stick to one thing. As long as they meet those requirements, especially in these higher regulated environments. In the commercial side, a lot more flexible, but in these highly regulated environments, we can still integrate with several different IDPs that all speak back to our source of truth to make sure that we can maintain that zero trust mandate, right, where you have a single source of truth for users. Chris, I'll let you speak a little bit more technically on how we support that.
Right. So we integrate with several IDPs. We've got customer developed ones. We have ADFS, Entra, RSA, at least one more that is not coming to me off the top of my head. And for Command Center login authentication, we use the IDP as the source of truth for customer authentication. So, you try to log in, and if you don't have an account in the IDP, you're not going to get an account. So we use, like I said, source of truth is the IDP, and then that offloads the burden of managing user login information from the Command Center, which frees us up to develop, Command Center tools, because like Mike said earlier, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. If we can just plug into, whatever IDP you're using, it saves us time, it saves us effort, and it makes sure that the users don't have to regenerate a whole bunch of new user accounts just to use our system. So we can plug this into their existing, AD if needed.
Awesome. I do have another question that I'm going to ask you. This is relating to ingesting alerts from a SIEM tool. Does Command Center have the ability to do that, or is that something that's on the roadmap?
Ingesting alerts from a SIEM tool such as Graylog?
Such as Graylog, or
OpenSearch or also. Yeah. So we have as an area where we can ingest those alerts, and that's what I was mentioning earlier with security SIEM alerts. So if an alert comes in that needs to be actioned, say we have an SLA of 1 hour response time, this alert needs to be addressed within 1 hour of it coming in. So is this an alert that needs something done? Is it just informational? Depending on what it is, you can select one or many alerts and disregard them, or one or many alerts and generate tickets for them, which if the ticket is in, our team is aware of it, we can begin actioning a response on it, so we can maintain those SLAs by keeping an eye on that. And it does reach out and notify people. So yeah, we can ingest alerts from alerting tools and then action them within the system.
I wanted to add there too a cool feature. We actually had a wave of interns come in and they proofed this out, and it was really cool. They leveraged native AWS services, which we then took up into the development pipeline to ingest into Pinpoint and Poly to enable a more escalation-centered approach that will take tickets that need to be responded within the SLAs that Chris mentioned, and automatically using those services give you a phone call, right? Get to the person who needs to be contacted in order to reduce the mean time to respond, especially in regard to our highly regulated environments that we've been mentioning, where that is crucial to maintain your compliance with the IR controls, which is a really fantastic solution. And I wanted to add in there, Chris, because I thought it was the coolest thing. Kind of automating that process and making sure that the SOC team can do their job without spending the time to have to coordinate and reach out and the logistics of it. Everything's set up, call lists are set up, and you don't have to worry as much. You're not going to know what's going on.
Right. Exactly. Perfect. So I think with that, we are about at time. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today, whether here on the StreamYard platform or on LinkedIn or YouTube. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.